Alrighty guys, I just wanted to make a quick video about this build here, which is the Hierophant Ice Spear Freezing Pulse Totem build. Now, there's a couple build guides out there that you can follow for leveling and kind of beginning this build, but a lot of the builds that I've seen haven't gone too deep into min-maxing the build as best as you can. And I've gotten a couple people to whisper me or message me since I have pushed this build past a lot of the limits on damage and appearing on PoE Ninja as currently the #1 damage for this build as of, a month or so into the league. You can see here I'm at 19 million with the next people at 11. And that's honestly just pushing the gear as much as you can. So the biggest things for the build are going to be your rings here with curse enemies with frostbite on hit. And then just a magic ring with the best synthesis anointments that you can, or implicits that you can find. Which I was able to find an increased damage, increased cold damage, and then increased max life for a little bit of survivability. Your necklace is still going to stay the same as the Pandemonious with allocating Whispers of Doom. That way you're able to inflict your frostbite as well as your sniper's mark. For the helmet, you can double corrupt your helmet for a little bit more, but honestly, just the single corrupt with +2 to level of socketed curse gems with the +2 to level of socketed gems in here. And then getting Ice Spear fires an additional projectile is going to boost your single target by a lot. Where if you are looking for more of a mapping build, then you can go for the freezing pulse damage increased. Either one works, but if you're looking to push your Ice Spear single target bossing damage, the Ice Spear fires an additional is going to be big for you. When it comes to the boots, you just want increased movement speed, cannot be frozen, and then of course fix your attributes. I did go with increased damage per endurance charge just because you are sitting at 4 endurance charges, and then increased cooldown recovery rate of travel skills. That way your frost blink can be up a little bit more. With this build, the more and more you push into the damage, the less you're going to have for survivability. This build does not have great survivability. Honestly, the best thing about this build is the fact that you don't have to be anywhere near the boss. You place your totems, and then you just dodge your mechanics, let your totems do your thing. Every once in a while, set some new totems down. That way you're recursing yourself with your soul mantle. Speaking of the soul mantle, you're going to want to grab at least a +2 to level of socketed projectile gems. If you got the money, you can grab a double corrupt of +2 to level of socketed projectiles and +1 to level of socketed. And that is going to be a big boost in the end for that extra level. Currently my Ice Spear is sitting at level 29, so if I did grab that double corrupt, I can get it to 30. For the belt, you do want to use the Coward's Legacy. This allows you to count as low life while you're cursed with vulnerability, and it does curse you with vulnerability. But obviously with this helmet with a magic ring in the right slot, you're hex proof, which means that you are still getting the curses on you, but they're not affecting you, which allows you to gain the bonus and benefits of the rest of the gear that we have. For the gloves, you want cold exposure on hit and chance to unnerve. And then with the rest of the modifiers, go ahead and get life, resistance. And if you are able to get the special gloves with increased damage with hits against chilled enemies, that is going to boost your damage quite a bit. Now, the final piece of gear here is going to be the staff. The staff, this one I did have to craft myself. It is really hard to find a staff specifically for this build, as it's not a popular build whatsoever. The easiest way to do this is to get a fractured +3 to level of all cold spell skill gems staff. Make sure it's a regular staff, not a war staff. Then go ahead and spam your Essences of Woe until you hit plus to level of all spell skill gems. This will give you your 3 prefixes with +5 to your cold and tier 1 spell damage. After this, you're going to go ahead and go to the bench, slam prefixes cannot be changed, and then go to your harvest crafting and reforge crit. When you reforge crit, you're looking to hit either increased crit strike chance for spells or global crit strike multiplier. If you are able to hit either of those with a high tier, and you're okay with that tier that you got, then you can go ahead, throw prefixes cannot be changed on there again, and then do the AUG crit. Now this is going to have a 50-50 chance of removing either prefixes cannot be changed, or it's going to remove your crit modifier and add another crit modifier. You can get unlucky and roll just increase crit strike chance, which is not going to work because that just increases your crit strike chance of melee attacks. If you do, you just got to basically redo it again. Go ahead and put prefixes cannot be changed, reforge crit, and start over. No matter what, if you always put prefixes cannot be changed, your base +5 with tier 1 spell damage will not go away, and you just got to spend your money trying to get your crit modifiers in there. Once you have both your crit modifiers, just go ahead and benchcraft increase cast speed, and you're good to go. When it comes to the gems, or the jewels, you're going to want a self-flagellation for 20% increased damage per curse on you. Because of your soul mantle, you're putting on a lot of curses. You can see here, I'm already full up on curses there. That's 20% for each one of those. After that, you are going to go ahead and grab a clear mind. That's going to give you mana regen and increased spell damage when no mana is reserved, which we do not reserve mana. The Militant Faith Timeless Jewel. Now this is important to grab your inner conviction. You are able to check the number of faithful converted in your path of building. You just want to make sure that none of these nodes here are changed. So you can see mine changes this one here and this one here, as well as this one, and these ones we don't take at all, so that doesn't affect us. You do not want to change any of your notables. For the cluster jewel, we're going to go ahead and grab Blanketed Snow, Disorienting Display, and Prismatic Heart, and you will allocate all 3 of those. Into your medium, you're going to grab Ancestral Echo and Sleepless Sentries. That's going to go ahead and give you Onslaught every time you summon your totem, which is more cast speed. Our damage is very boosted by cast speed. And then we have here totem placement speed and then just more cast speed for ourselves. Repeater on the next medium cluster, Repeater and Eye to Eye. This gives us more cast speed and projectile damage, and this will give us more projectile damage and increase projectile damage with hits against nearby enemies, which most of the time the enemy is going to be pretty close to your totems. For the Watcher's Eye, the only aura that we are running is Zealotry. So the critical strikes penetrate 9% of enemy elemental resistance while affected by Zealotry is the best one to get if you're only going to have one modifier for Zealotry. If you are able to get a double, the consecrated ground you create while affected by Zealotry causes enemies to take 10% increased damage is going to be a good one to grab for your second. Rain of Splinters is also incredibly important. This does allow your totems to shoot more projectiles. This is the cheapest Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you that I was able to find. The other jewels that we add, it was a lot more expensive to grab a Corrupted Blood. But if you can, that's going to be a big boost. That way you don't have to waste your time only being able to remove Corrupted Blood by your flask. All right. And that just does it for the gear and items. When it comes to the ascendancy, you are able to take divine guidance and sanctuary of thought. This is going to give you a lot more defense, and a little bit more AoE. I do tend to think that the arcane blessing and ritual of awakening is better, just because arcane surge does give you spell damage and it gives you mana regen. And our biggest thing is that we're draining our mana whenever we place our totem, so you want to grab your mana regen. Same with the Ritual of Awakening. You get more damage for each totem, but you also regenerate more mana, and you regenerate life for each totem. So this one is almost a necessity, Conviction of Power, as well as Pursuit of Faith. You need that for the additional totem. When it comes to the gems, you can follow just about every other build. Sniper's Mark connected to Duration, Frostbomb, and Arcanist Brand. And then we have our Ice Spear in our chest connected to multiple totems, critical damage, added cold, greater multiple, and hypothermia. Divergent hypothermia is good here. That way, the enemies that you freeze have -4 to cold resist. And then in our staff, we go ahead and throw Freezing Pulse with increase crit damage, added cold, spell totem, multiple totem, and greater multiple. The divergent greater multiple is better on your Freezing Pulse than even an awakened greater multiple, just because the percent does increase the projectile spread, which just allows you to do a full screen clear with your Freezing Pulse. But yeah, if you have any other questions about the build, you can always message me in game.